Okay, I'm going to do another tutorial on layering adhesive vinyl. This is once again Oracal 651. I'm going to be doing it on a bucket that I got from the dollar store for my daughter. She wanted trolls, so I already put all my colors and layers on my transfer tape so that this can go a little bit faster. So here's my first layer. I'm going to use the hinge method to place it on. Might be a little harder to see both of them, so I'm going to do one at a time so it's easier for you to see. Just gonna rub it on there. Go over it with my scraper after. And go over the side. Got some bubbles. Usually I can just take my fingernail and squeeze it out, but you can do your scraper. You can also layer the characters on your transfer tape with all of the colors first, but it's harder to get the bubbles out if you do that. So I prefer to do one color at a time for this so that the layers don't get bubbles, and if they do, it's not as bad, hopefully. I'm just gonna peel my transfer tape off pretty slowly. You can still see I have some bubbles, but I can go over those after I take the transfer tape off and get them out. It's a little bit easier to see without the transfer tape on exactly where you have bubbles. It's not as bad as I thought. Okay, right here. Okay, I'm going to do one troll at a time just so you can see. Since I use the black layer as my base layer, my colors aren't going to line up exactly with the edges. So as I put each color on, it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to start with Poppy's body. You can also keep your computer near you with your design to see exactly how it's lined up. Again, you can use registration marks. I tend to have better luck if I just kind of eyeball it. So I'm going to leave a little bit of black around the edges, and I just kind of move it around to make sure that I have all of it lined up pretty well. See that side. Gotta be careful because it's really sticky, so I'm losing her ear a little bit, but just peel it back up, so that's okay. Forgot to weed that part. I can just scrape that off really quickly though. So I can just kind of do this, and if you feel more comfortable, you can do smaller sections at a time, however you prefer. Usually I can get them in one shot, but I guess not as well tonight. I'm just gonna rub it on and pull it up, and then I'll go back and do her other ear. You can do the layers in whatever order you like. I like to start with the bigger ones first. I think it makes putting the smaller sections down a little bit easier. So it's Poppy's body. I'm going to do her hair now. So now I can see here it's going to line up like this. So I'll line it up around her face a little more, then up top. And her hair will just kind of fall into place. I've made this file several times before because my daughter is obsessed, but so I know that right there. That's how my file was made. So that's okay. I don't need to worry that there's too much of an outline left over. That's how it is. But you look at your computer while you do it. You'll be able to see that. All right, now I'm going to do her dress and stuff. I made this file myself, so I tend to make my characters like this with the black base layer. I find it much easier, especially when I layer HTV. It just goes together so much easier, and I really find that it's not so bulky. And on a bucket, that may not matter as much, but on a shirt, it definitely does, especially when it's hot outside and it's a thick layer. So I find doing this, it really ends up only being 2 layers, just the way it's kind of spaced out. So that is my preference. You may not find that all files are made that way, but that is how I prefer to do it. So her teeth have some tiny pieces, so I might need to kind of really scrape them down. That was okay. We've got her headband, and as you can see, this is actually really easy. Most people are intimidated by this, but it's so much easier, I think, when you can visually see somebody else do it. And as long as you have the correct file too, if it's made the right way and you're good, that is a big help. So I'm just gonna go ahead, put her headband on, and I know that this isn't done the right way. I put her headband pieces on. I don't always leave them attached exactly where they need to be because I really like to save vinyl. So if that's the case, I can kind of put it together however I want, which is what I prefer. This is not really set yet, so I can kind of just move it around with my finger, especially since it's a tiny piece. Once you give it the time to cure, it will be fine. My daughter has a bucket I made her a few years ago that is still excellent, because even with the tiny pieces. So we're almost done with Poppy here, and then we'll quickly do Branch. Okay, can you see her? Very nice. Okay, Branch, I'm going to start with his body, again because it's a bigger piece, so that will be much easier to kind of go together. I haven't made him as much, so I'm not sure exactly how his lines should line up. I think this might be a little off, but that's okay for me. I can watch it next time. Alright, I have his hair, which we'll do next. His nose is attached too, which also is nice for helping you line up when you want to do his hair and his nose. I think I'm going to do his nose and then his hair. I think that will... So sometimes I do that too, sometimes when I go to do it, especially if it's on more of a curve. That's how I prefer it to be. Let's see, I didn't really burnish this on that well yet, so I can still kind of take it off all right and adjust it a little. I think I needed a bit more of a slant than I gave it originally. Now I'll just make sure, and really when you go to lay it down, as long as you make sure you have like a corner down well, it's good. See, I'm getting a few bubbles because I'm not really burnishing it well. To avoid the bubbles, you want to make sure you burnish it well. That will get the bubbles out beforehand. You can pop them with a pin or something afterwards, but this is only for my daughter, so I'm not too choosy. Again, you can do this in any order you prefer. This is just the order that I find makes the most sense for me. That I think when I put it down, it will just come together easily. Just got his shorts on. And that's it.